Good evening and welcome. The Florida School Counselor Association would like to welcome everyone. I'm Nestor Avila. I am a board member for the Professional Development Committee on the FSCA board. And with us tonight we have a wonderful presenter, Mr. Michael Kane. And he is a certified school counselor with over 20 years of experience in the elementary school setting. Mike will be walking us through this wonderful topic titled From Aspirations to Action, the Elementary School Counselor's College and Career Readiness. Mike joins us from the School District of Palm Beach County, where he is serving as a co-chair, also on the FSCA board, but most importantly, a unique opportunity through the IES-funded project, a randomized controlled trial of student success skills. And above all, he has an overwhelming, passion and investment in career development and just wonderful information for us regarding the elementary setting. During this presentation, I encourage you to ask questions through our chat. If you're able to ask questions through our chat, we will be able to communicate with Mike, and I'll host that. And at the very end, we'll be able to answer those questions. At the end of our webinar, you should be receiving an email with a link, with a survey regarding the information presented tonight, as well as a link for the webinar itself that you'll be able to review at a later time. Thank you, and without further ado, Mike, I'm handing it over.
Fantastic. Thank you, Nestor. So again, my name is Michael Kane, and I'm an elementary school counselor by practice and by training, and we're going to spend some time tonight talking about the elementary school counselor's role in college and career readiness. As Nestor suggested, I've been around school counseling for quite a few years, and I have determined that there is a need for college and career readiness information for elementary school age students. And a few years back, I really began to explore this with my 4th and 5th grade students. I did this through classroom guidance using a student success skills curriculum and other self-created lessons, and began to talk with students about what they can do today to get ready for tomorrow. What I found is as I continued to do this work and continued to look for information, I often struggled to find specific college and career ready programs or strategies or techniques that were a good fit for elementary or even middle school age students. So that's kind of what motivated me to continue to dig into this topic. What I'm hoping to accomplish tonight is basically these 3 objectives. I want to take some time talking about what college and career readiness is and some research and some trends around that. Then I want to spend some time sharing what I've determined to be some of the key knowledge, skills, and attitudes that support a student's college and career readiness. And you might hear me call these college and career success skills. And then third, I want to spend some time talking about what we can do as elementary school counselors to model, teach, and counsel a college and career ready trajectory. Those are kind of our goals for tonight. And as I go through the presentation, I have it broken down into 4 sections. The first is going to be focusing in on research and trends. The second, I'm going to talk a little bit about college and career readiness, knowledge, skills, and attitudes. Third, I'm going to get into resources and strategies, and then at the end, questions and answers. So I do encourage you to keep track of any questions or thoughts that you have so that we can discuss them at the end of the presentation. I added this slide in just to kind of clarify what I wanted to focus on tonight. And our presentation tonight is focused on college and career readiness and not career development. Even though these 2 concepts are intertwined, in order to stay focused, I'm going to stay pretty strict to the idea of college and career readiness. Even though career development is essential and important and it's appropriate for school counselors to work with, helping students identify their self-knowledge and their occupational knowledge, college and career readiness can be viewed a little bit different from that. So I'm going to stick strictly with college and career readiness tonight. So do me a favor and take a minute, and if you have a scratched piece of paper or a napkin or whatever you have to write on, take a minute and let's just jot down what you already know about college and career readiness and what you want to know about college and career readiness. That second one will help us with any questions that you might have towards the end of the presentation, because maybe I'll skip something or I'll forget to talk about something. It'll give the opportunity for us to come back and revisit that. So I'm going to give you just a quick moment to jot down a note or two, and then we're going to refer back to this slide or give you an opportunity to talk about what you wrote down towards the end of the presentation. Okay, awesome. I hope you had a chance to write something down. Okay, so what's the deal with college and career readiness? I mean, we're hearing a whole lot about it, so I thought I would take a few minutes and talk about what's happening in the literature and in around policy with college and career readiness. And I thought I would kick it off with a story. It's based loosely on fact, and that it's modeled after some students that I had experience with as an elementary school counselor. So if you would imagine with me that we have two students, and the first one is a young lady, fifth grade female student, who returns to her elementary school 11 years after completing her fifth grade year. And she comes back as an adult, and we're kind of checking with one another, and we were discussing that as a student she did well in class. She did struggle with family issues. She did struggle with friendship issues and some self-esteem related issues, and she participated in group counseling and other interventions through classroom guidance and small group. After she left elementary school in fifth grade, she progressed through middle school, did pretty well there, high school, ended up going to college and earning a degree in education. And in fact, in her return back to her old elementary school, it was to apply for and interview for a teaching position there. So it ends up that this young lady that was struggling as a fifth grader received some intervention, but in turn came back a few years later to work at her same school as a classroom teacher. Something worked for her in her experiences in education, whether it be through elementary, middle, and high school, to where she was able to reach her college and career aspirations, her goals to become a classroom teacher. Now, there's another student, a young boy that had very similar struggles and concerns, participated in very similar supportive activities. This boy and this girl were in fifth grade at the same time. They had the same teachers, the same counselor, participating in the same activities. However, this young man really didn't take ownership of his education. He avoids taking challenging courses in middle school. He struggles with staying focused and completing the work. He does make it through. He does graduate. He does go to college, but it's not because it's what he wants to do. It's because it's what other people are doing. And once he gets there, he struggles there, has to take some remedial coursework, and ends up dropping out. And so thinking about these two students, what's the difference between the two of them? What was developed in one that wasn't developed in the other? And I think what I'm going to go through as we go through the rest of the presentation is that there could have been some other factors, things like mindset, social emotional skills, cognitive strategies, non-cognitive factors that supported one student but were kind of absent in the other. And so we're going to explore those as we move forward. So why does college and career readiness matter, and why should we care about it as school counselors? Well, thinking of Florida, about 63% of jobs in Florida were going to require some sort of a college degree or career certificate by 2020. So the forecast is we're going to need a better educated workforce graduating from our high schools. Right now, about 35% of adults in Florida have that associate degree or some other training requirement, which results in a skills gap. We have more high-skilled jobs than we have high-skilled workers. And historically, school counselors, we've played a role in connecting students to high skills jobs through academic advising and career development. I think what's different for us today and what we're going to bring out in our conversation today is recognizing the importance of soft skills or social emotional skills or non-cognitive factors in the development of college and career readiness for all of our students, and that we develop these skills starting at a very young age in elementary school. Now, this skills gap that we're addressing in terms of between of college and career readiness for our students continues, and we see it show up in other sources of research. This is a report from ACT, and it measured college and career readiness of students by subjects when compared to the ACT benchmarks. And as you can see, as you take a look at this, that we had about in 2014, about 64% of graduating seniors met their benchmark for reading, 44%, 64 in English, 44 in reading, about 43% in math, 37 in science, and for students that were graduating at ACT's determination of being college and career ready in all 4 subjects, only about 26% were considered college and career ready in 2014. SAT had pretty similar results. Their report from 2013 shows that roughly around 43% of graduating seniors met their SAT college and career readiness benchmark. The stat for this year, by the way, for 2014 is 42.6% of SAT takers met the SAT college and career readiness benchmark. Now, one of the things that SAT points out, which I think is pretty consistent in other sources of literature, is that this readiness gap that exists between the graduating senior and the college and career ready target is more pronounced when we take a look at specific underrepresented minority students. For example, according to SAT, about 16% of African American SAT takers met their benchmarks. About 23% of Hispanic SAT test takers met the benchmark, and about 33% of Native American SAT test takers met the benchmark. So we're seeing that gap exists, but it even widens when we take a look at underrepresented populations. So when we're thinking about college and career readiness, the numbers don't add up. There's a skills gap that shows up in other resources. And if we take a look at, if we were to go into exploring these other sources of information from the College Completion Report, a report on projections of jobs and education requirements, what is career ready, and college and career ready, that this concept that there's kind of a disconnect between what students need to have upon graduation and what they do actually have when they're graduating, that there's a disconnect or a gap there, that's consistently showing up from from many different sources. So we know that there's an issue, and in order to address the issue, it's important for us as school counselors to have some understanding about what college and career readiness is, why we should address it through elementary school, and then why should school counselors be addressing it all when we also have so many other things to worry about. So we'll start off with a quick definition of what college and career readiness is. As you can read, it states that it's high school students graduating with the academic knowledge and skills needed to qualify for and succeed in entry-level, credit-bearing post-secondary coursework or job training. A couple of things on this slide that I do want to talk about that I think are important as we're thinking about college and career readiness is that there's different opinions about whether they can consider it as a single topic or whether it should be split, single meaning college and career, or split meaning that there's a definition for college ready and then a separate definition for career ready. In this presentation, I'm considering this as a single measure, and then so the emphasis is on the word "and," that is college and career readiness. And there's an idea that I believe that we have to be very careful, and that when we think of college and career readiness, the assumption is, well, we're talking about 4-year colleges, 4-year universities when we're discussing college and career readiness. And I think some folks kind of automatically make that connection. But it is important for us to remember that we are also talking about readiness for students to pursue industry certifications, apprenticeships, or other training programs as well. That skill set that helps a student become ready to pursue college coursework or industry certifications or apprenticeships, that underlying skill set, soft skills that we may have heard, or social emotional skills, those are pretty similar no matter which direction you go. So again, it's this idea that we don't want to assume that when we're talking about college and career readiness that we're only talking about students going to a 4-year college or university, that we do make sure that we're extending our conversation to recognize the appropriateness of other post-secondary training options as well. You probably recognize this slide. We've had a lot of exposure to college and career readiness thanks to the Own the Turf campaign that was shared with in the 8 components of college and career readiness counseling. This came out of the work from NOSCA and the College Board. Steps 1 through 6, according to NOSCA, are very appropriate for the elementary school counselor, meaning that we do some work with developing college aspirations. We work with academic planning and helping students make sure they're pursuing rigorous coursework in upper elementary and middle school. We're promoting enrichment and extracurricular engagement. We're engaging in exploring colleges and careers as a viable option for all students. Some assessments around that, as well as affordability planning with our parents. Typically, steps 7 and 8 are reserved for the upper grades, upper middle, and high school with that. But this is another source that can inform us on college and career readiness. In January 2014, the White House sponsored a summit in conjunction with the Reach Higher initiative. And the Reach Higher initiative is designed to inspire all students to pursue post-secondary education through professional development, professional training programs, community college, or 2- or 4-year colleges and universities. And the Reach Higher targets are to expand college and career awareness, financial literacy, academic planning, and to support high school counselors in moving this work forward. So the Reach Higher initiative is, again, a big supporter of addressing college and career readiness, and another reason for school counselors to attend to college and career readiness for the fact that we are specially trained and uniquely qualified to help students develop the readiness skills, attitudes, and strategies to be successful post-high school. So when I think about college and career readiness, I feel like that we're in an amazing time in school counseling, and that there's this huge groundswell building around helping students get ready to be successful, not only getting into college, but to be or into a career or into other post-secondary training program, but to also to be able to persist and stick it out and be successful in completing that program. There's a lot of attention around this, and you really you can't avoid discussions of college and career readiness. So I think there's a real groundswell here, and I hope that what we can do as elementary school counselors is to paddle hard and catch this wave, because I do believe that it is up to us to start early and help kids to become career and college ready starting in upper elementary school. We've taken a few minutes and just had a whirlwind tour of the concept of college and career readiness, and what I'm going to move into now is trying to get a little bit more specific about how this might look in the elementary for the elementary school counselor. So when I was working in my elementary school, I was pretty pumped up about the idea of college and career readiness. I was really excited to bring this concept to my students and help them understand and develop the skills and strategies and behaviors that they would need in order to be successful in middle school, so that they could pursue those rigorous courses in high school and graduate, ready to persist and to be admitted and to persist in their post-secondary planning. So I was pretty excited. So I began to look around and talk to folks who had expertise in college and career readiness. And what I found is that some of the strategies and the tools that were out there for elementary school counselors were a little fuzzy, meaning that the kind of recommendations that I was hearing as an elementary school counselor just weren't there. And I kept pushing, and I kept asking, and I would ask questions, geez, what evidence-based practices do I use? Give me some lesson plans or some techniques that I can apply to develop college and career readiness as an elementary school counselor. I would have conversations that would resolve around, I know what you want me to accomplish, but how do I do it? Help me understand. And I recall this one particular conversation to where I was really pushing the issue, and the response that I received kind of blew me out of the water. It was, well, I think that the role of the elementary school counselor would be to pass out books on different careers and to work with a media specialist on that and distributing books on careers. And I thought to myself, well, okay, I don't think that we have a clear picture of what this looks like for elementary school counselors yet. And that turned into my area of interest or my research focus, and saying, well, let's see if we can develop something that's going to work for elementary school counselors and really contribute to the college and career readiness of students. So in summary, kind of what I've figured out so far is that there's a lot of information about college and career readiness and education pipelines and frameworks like NOSCA and ASCA and advocacy groups around college and career readiness, even the Reach Higher initiative, but very few offer evidence-based programs for school counselors, and even fewer of these offer evidence-based programs for elementary school counselors. So we have a challenge in that we kind of have to define this territory ourselves. So I'm going to back up and just clarify one more thing about career development in college and career readiness. As an elementary school counselor, I do believe that we embrace the idea of developing our students' self-knowledge and occupational knowledge. We support theorists like Holland and Super and their efforts around this kind of work. And we think this is important work for school counselors. And I do see that college and career readiness marries these two concepts in very complementary ways. But it's more than career weeks or truck days. College and career readiness is more than exploring with students their options in the world of work or developing aspirations. College and career readiness is this idea that we're going to approach career development and college and career readiness hand in hand, that they run in conjunction with one another and help students to develop the skills they'll need to achieve their goals, their dreams, or their aspirations. So by supporting their hope through college and career ready activities, we're helping students to develop in the elementary age learning strategies, self-management skills, social skills, and mindsets that empower them to commit to goals and to work hard, to take on and master challenging coursework, and to manage their transitions from 5th to 6th grade and then from 8th to 9th grade. And to have students develop the idea that I belong in my school and I want to do well and I will do well. I'm going to now move into a slightly different area and start talking about some of the non-cognitive factors that are aligned with college and career readiness, or some things that I've determined to be really big supporters of college and career readiness. So if you stick with me, I'm going to go through a couple of slides relating to that. And when I talk about commonalities in research, what I'm talking about is that many groups discuss college and career readiness. We've referenced NOSCA, the National Office for School Counselor Advocacy. We know ASCA, the National Career Development Association. We may have heard of EPIC, which is Conley's work around college and career readiness. We may have heard of ACHIEVE, which also talks about this. Some of our counselors may be aware of the SCANS report from back in the 2000s, or currently the ONET, which provides occupational information in the nowadays, in current time frame. And we also may be aware of mindsets and the work of Dr. Duckworth around grit and the reports coming out of University of Chicago around non-cognitive factors. There's quite a lot of information out there, and then if we start going through that, we're going to notice that there are some strategies or some things that are discussed that are really consistent with what school counselors already do. So on that piece of paper that you have set aside with that you've been tracking questions or any other comments, you can also start to track down times that you already think you address some of these factors or contributors to college and career readiness, and might see that we're already engaged in some of this work as elementary school counselors. So if you're a little more experienced counselor like I am, you're aware of the SCANS report. It came out in the late 90s, early 2000s, and it talked about what did our students need to be able to do in order to be successful employees post-graduation. And take a look at this slide. You'll see that even back in the 2000s, there was conversations about the importance of having, teamwork skills and leadership skills and diversity that students were able to make decisions and they knew how to learn, and that they also had a positive self-esteem and were able to control themselves through self-management. I'm thinking that if you're keeping track of, do I do this as a school counselor, you probably spend some time working on these strategies and skills with your students already. ONET is the nation's primary source of occupational information. It provides an extensive amount of information regarding what it takes to work in different occupations, cognitive abilities, work skills, and also activities. If you take a look at some of the things that ONET has reported as being important for employees to be able to do: reasoning, selective attention, being able to know what to focus on and being able to switch focus from one thing to another, being sensitive to problems, having problem-solving skills and social skills, and knowing how to interact with others. Once again, I kind of feel like that school counselors are already engaged in this kind of work, and so we're already supporting college and career readiness types of activities. I mentioned EPIC a few minutes ago, the Educational Policy Improvement Center, and David Conley. This group is a true leader in the idea of college and career readiness, and Conley has developed a model that has 4 quadrants in it, and each quadrant is an element of college and career readiness. If you take a look at that, you can see that cognitive strategies are those habits of the mind, such as problem formulation, being able to research information or to communicate. And there's also content knowledge, which is the book smarts. Being able to, a student who's college and career ready is able to be able to understand the content related to their chosen field of study. Then there's learning skills and techniques, and these things refer to the academic and social emotional skills that have been proven to support college and career success. And then there's transition and knowledge skills. This is understanding environments, knowing how to advocate for oneself, how to get help in different situations. So if you think of this 4-quadrant model, it seems like the school counselors have a key role to play in at least 3 of these: problem solving, transition knowledge, and learning skills and techniques. So I think we do have a role, even in this college and career ready model that we're seeing from EPIC and David Conley. We've been talking about some of the things from the career world and the college world. I'm going to move in a slightly different direction. It's something that has come up in the literature as being very important to academic success as well as college and career success, and that's the idea of a growth mindset. And that this is from the work of Carol Dweck. And the idea is that by teaching and promoting a growth mindset with our students, we are enhancing motivation and productivity and their success academically, socially, and as well as through their work. Time and time again, the idea of a growth mindset, that we can develop abilities and that our effort matters, has been proven to have a positive impact on education, career, and life success. Staying in this line of thought, we've also determined by looking through the research that grit and self-control are really important predictors of not only academic success, but persistence and success through college opportunities and career opportunities. This work comes out of the University of Pennsylvania with Dr. Duckworth, and it focuses on the idea that grit, that ability to sustain interest in and effort toward very long-term goals, is very important, as well as self-control, which is that voluntary regulation of behavioral, emotional, and attentional impulses. What's interesting about these concepts is there are a group of economists that are also studying the impact of grit and self-control, and they consider them to be very important dimensions of human capital, and that they're great examples of non-cognitive factors or social emotional learning traits that relate to a person being successful as they move through life. So that's definitely worthy of continued exploration from school counselors, to see how that we as elementary school counselors can work with students on helping them develop grit and self-control. You've heard me mention non-cognitive factors a couple of times. The non-cognitive factor concept comes out of the idea that there are a host of skills and traits, characteristics that are very important in the success of students that aren't related to IQ. And hence the term non-cognitive. But the idea that there's a whole host of things, social emotional learning, soft skills, that are very important to the success of someone academically, also in terms of their college and career readiness. So the University of Chicago conducted a study, a review of studies, and this is entitled Teaching Adolescents to Become Learners. And through that they identified 5 non-cognitive factors that have very great deal of influence on academic success, and they define those as academic behaviors, actually participating and doing the work in school, academic perseverance, grit, tenacity, and self-control, academic mindsets, learning strategies, and social skills. They took these and placed them into a model, and you can see how mindsets and developing academic growth mindsets can be very influential as we also help students develop their social skills and their learning strategies, leading to academic perseverance, academic behaviors, and subsequently academic performance. I bet if you have not seen this chart yet, you could probably look at it and see yourself developing classroom guidance units or small group counseling plans around those academic behaviors and how you could support those with your students. Now the kind of cool thing about these is that we've also figured out, I had to back up a slide, excuse me, we've also figured out that these characteristics are malleable, meaning that they can be taught, they can be modeled, and we can affect change with developing students' social skills, their learning strategies, their mindsets, and their behaviors, that we can have impact on that, and then that impact matters because it produces change, academic change, social emotional change, leading to college and career readiness. I want to reference one other group that's taking a look at college and career readiness specifically, and that's ACT. You know them from the ACT assessment that many high school students take as part of their admission packet. Well, ACT also has been studying, well, what else besides IQ matters for college and career readiness? And they've identified 3 non-academic measures as being important, and that motivation, self-regulation, and social engagement are significant predictors of academic success, or excuse me, not academic success, college and career readiness. And in their research, they've tracked back the impact of these 3 behaviors all the way to 6th grade, and that they can have developed an assessment to identify as early as 6th grade a student's college and career readiness along these 3 factors. So once again, I think as elementary school counselors, we can look at that list and say, yes, I work with students in developing motivation. Yes, I work with students on self-regulation and dealing with feelings. And yes, I do work with students about engaging appropriately with their family and their relationships with other students and school personnel. So we can definitely see that we have a role to play in enhancing the college and career readiness success of students. I wanted to show you this slide and show you this title in case you have not already seen this book. It's a really great book to have your first exposure to the idea of non-cognitive factors and the importance of social emotional learning in the academic and life success of children. It's a great book to read. It's called How Children Succeed, and if you have not yet read it, I would encourage you to check it out. It's a really interesting way to expose yourself to the importance of non-cognitive factors. I'm going to make 1 or 2 more comments about non-cognitive factors before we get into what that looks like for us as elementary school counselors. Hopefully by now you've seen the revised ASCA mindsets and behaviors for student success. And as you've looked at them, you've probably picked up on the idea that ASCA has really embraced college and career readiness, and you see that showing up in how they've included mindsets into the student standards, as well as specific behavior standards, learning strategies, self-management skills, and social skills as well. And hopefully by now you're looking at this screen saying, yes, you know what, I did see those show up in the previous slides around non-cognitive factors and social emotional learning. It's all coming together that if we address these kinds of activities, we are in fact developing college and career readiness in students. So to kind of come right to the end with this section of the presentation, these are the kinds of things that are consistent in the research as being the kinds of activities or the kinds of skills that we need to develop in our students at a young age to help them to become college and career readiness. We're talking about behaviors, and then character or personality constructs, mindsets and attitudes, helping our students to develop specific strategies, cognitive and metacognitive skills, then also helping our students to develop social skills. Again, once again, as an elementary school counselor, I think we do these things, and I think we can see how by engaging in these specific activities, we are helping students to become college and career ready by developing their self-efficacy, their key learning strategies and skills, their cognitive engagement, and the behavioral engagement. Now this next section, I'm going to take just about 5 minutes on, and I'm going to kind of go through it pretty quickly because really it's about making the case that elementary school counselors, that this is important work for us. It's pretty consistent in the research when we take a look at what ACT is talking about, or what one of our economist friends, Heckman, through the Heckman equation is talking about, and what the University of Chicago is talking about, is that the development of these social, emotional skills, or these non-cognitive factors, it works best when we develop them young, when we start them early in elementary school, and that when we do it there, we are getting this preventative approach. We're getting a really good bang for our buck when it comes to that. Our Florida standards are saying that we should be developing our students critical thinking, problem-solving skills, and helping them to deal with cognitively complex tasks. This definitely makes it work worth pursuing. So we do have new opportunities as elementary school counselors to continue developing aspirations and to continue career development activities, but that we can also start making sure that we're addressing those knowledge, skills, and attitudes for college and career readiness success. And we can guide our practice by taking a look at what does ASCA say? What do we see coming out of the social emotional learning literature? And what do we see coming out of the literature on non-cognitive factors? So this last section of our presentation tonight is going to focus on resources and strategies. Now you might remember that I talked about right at the beginning that evidence-based college and career readiness interventions or programs are difficult to find. And they're particularly difficult when it comes to elementary school counseling programs. So that leaves us in a position that we might have to develop some of this on our own. We might need to go out there and do a little bit of legwork and develop our own lesson plans, our own materials. So I'm going to share with you some resources and some strategies that I think might be helpful. By now, as a school counselor, I'm sure you're aware of the Reach Higher initiative and its role in promoting the post-secondary education for all students, and that school counselors are central to this effort. And what you see here is just an example of how one elementary school counselor embraced that through her aspiration unit through classroom guidance by developing a bulletin board, and also helping our students understand and develop the belief that they can go to college, and that they can go to school, and that they can take the steps to start on the pathway to a good career. So Reach Higher, I think we can embrace that as a resource for us. This Reach Higher initiative is also present in our own FSCA, our own local state-level school counselor association. So I encourage you to read up on the college and career readiness information you'll find at the FSCA website. And our goals that we're working on through FSCA are to make sure that we're planning and implementing professional development throughout Florida that focuses on college and career readiness for all levels. Another resource that you are likely aware of is the Florida Department of Education College and Career Planning webpage, and there you can find information on choices, you can find information on the Career Cruiser and other activities that you might have to adapt, but that you can bring into your counseling program to help students develop college and career aspirations. You've heard me mention the University of Chicago Resources teaching adolescents to become learners. I also want to give you a heads up on their on a companion document called Readiness for College, which really takes a specific look at connecting those kinds of social and emotional or non-cognitive factors to college and career readiness. And these resources will be helpful to you as you develop a framework for folding non-cognitive factors into your own school counseling practice. And the really neat thing about this area of research around non-cognitive factors is that when we address them, we get an immediate benefit on academic performance, but then we also get a prolonged or more distal impact on college and career readiness. So it's really an interesting area to read up on as a resource for you. There's another resource that I want to turn you on to if you're not already aware of it, and that is the Center for School Counseling Outcome Research and Evaluation. This is based out of the University of Massachusetts Amherst, and they're committed to creating, identifying, and disseminating best practices in school counseling, evaluation models for measuring systemic interventions, and instruments that measure school counseling outcomes. So I really encourage you to take a few minutes and visit them if you have not already spent some time at the CSCORE website. Elementary school counselors are very aware of social emotional learning, and I want to turn you on to this resource by CASEL, which is the CASEL guide, which describes effective social emotional learning programs and these are programs that are well designed, classroom based, and they have evidenced effectiveness. So as you're choosing interventions to develop social emotional skills or non-cognitive factors, this is a great resource document to take a look at. I'm going to get into a couple of other resources that you can take a look at. And these are more programmatic. Another resource is the Advancement via Individual Determination, and that host of programs. It's a college and career readiness system that takes a look at accelerating student learning through effective instruction, motivational professional learning, and creating a catalyst for systemic reform and change. They've just recently added a K-8 component as well, and that's the AVID program. The Efficacy Institute's been around for a long time, and I've included them here is because of their focus on the idea that we can help students believe that through effective effort they can get smart and develop that growth mindset, and that's a great resource for researching that growth mindset. Another resource for you is to consider as you're thinking about college and career readiness and developing these non-cognitive factors is the Mind Up program. It has been reviewed by CASEL and has been proven to reduce stress, improve academic performance, and strengthen abilities for concentration. So if you're thinking about, okay, what can I do? What's a tool that I can go to? Mind Up might be one worth exploring for you. There is a small cost for that material, so you'd have to check that out for yourself. Believing the College Dream is another great program that is founded on the belief that many low-income students, many of them feel that college is out of reach. And so the purpose of Believing the College Dream is to challenge that attitude with an innovative educational program that helps first-generation college-bound students plan for college and succeed academically. These materials are available for download at no cost, so that would be something worth checking out if you were looking for materials for developing college aspirations. Student Success Skills is well known in Florida. It's a K-12 evidence-based model that helps students develop key cognitive, social, and self-management skills. It's widely used and highly effective throughout the state of Florida and beyond. Now, what's really cool about Student Success Skills is that when we look at what it takes to be college and career ready, those same skills and attitudes and behaviors are being addressed through the Student Success Skills curriculum. So it's a real nice fit between program and target college and career readiness skills and behaviors. And some recent research has really supported and continues to support student success skills effect or impact on connectedness to school, student self-regulation, student prosocial behavior, classroom climate, academic achievement, and achievement-related behavior. So the research is strong in support of the use of SSS. This last section is going to get into some strategies. Again, part of the struggle was there were very few, if any, college and career readiness programs. And so what I want to accomplish with this last piece is to discuss some strategies that aren't necessarily driven by a program, but they are activities that a school counselor at the elementary school age might implement to support college and career readiness. First and foremost, I think that elementary school counselors have to take on developing growth mindsets with our students. Florida Department of Education has recently added a growth mindset section to their webpage, so I encourage you to check it out as a great place to get started around developing mindsets. Research is clear this is a really important aspect, and I think elementary school counselors can work with our school leadership teams, our school-wide PBS teams, our school advisory councils, our school-based teams to consider how we're addressing students on a school-wide level so that we're developing growth mindsets with them. Another strategy, when you're thinking about your school counseling core curriculum, is to consider how you can use that to develop college and career aspirations. Maybe consider implementing some of the curriculum that's listed there. Maybe you spend some time with student success skills, or spend some time with Believing the College Dream, or some SEL material, or Mind Up through classroom guidance to start to develop these skills and strategies and beliefs with all of your students through your core instruction. Now, I would also then suggest following that up to where perhaps you target specific students or even all of your students with specific strategies. So as you're developing your classroom guidance units or your small group counseling lesson plans, that you're making sure that you're addressing learning skills and techniques and addressing transition knowledge and skills and help kids to get ready to go from 5th to 6th. To help students understand what self-regulation is and what does it mean to be socially engaged, and to help them develop these academic behaviors like motivation, tenacity, and grit. A great way to also move this forward is by partnering with teachers around these concepts and help them to see the benefit of addressing these and how that's also going to create a positive impact on that student performance in the classroom. You heard me mention EPIC and David Conley before, and you might recognize this module. I pulled out one specific section, Learning Skills and Techniques, and you'll see a list of things, of abilities and that we would hope college and career-ready students would be able to possess. And thinking as an elementary school counselor, geez, I believe that we would hit everything on this list at some point in time through our comprehensive program. So I would encourage you, as you're thinking about, well, what do I do, Mike? How do I, what are some college and career-ready interventions that I would do? Well, I would suggest take a look at this list, start there, and start developing interventions or classroom guidance units that address those key learning skills and techniques. Parent workshops are a great way for us to do this. We can help our parents understand the concepts of a growth mindset and help them understand what it means to develop self-efficacy with their kids. Don't forget to include information on financial literacy. Even at an early age, it can help parents see that college could be an option. And if at the bottom of that screen, you'll see 2 potential resources. You Can Go, which is a College Board website, and then Believing the College Dream, which has a parent education toolkit in it. So there might be some resources there you can pull from. Creating a college and career-ready school culture is another strategy that you could consider, and you can have fun with this. And I think this is probably what we see a lot of when it comes to college and career readiness, is the idea of banners and posters and having teachers talk about what college they went to or what they did for their training. Field trips or partnerships with local colleges or training programs or other sites to help kids, develop this idea that, you know what, I can go and I will go. And creating that college-going culture. And again, this is one that you could probably have a lot of fun with. So I'm looking at my clock over here, and we've got just over 10 minutes left, so I want to kind of wrap things up and just say that, what we've been trying to identify today is that there is a lot of information on college and career readiness out there, but there are also gaps. and those gaps seem to come up at the elementary school age for elementary school counselors and at the elementary school age students, in that it's a little vague or unclear what our role is. I think that my goal tonight was to try to clarify a little bit what college and career readiness would look like in the early middle years, say upper elementary, even into maybe 6th grade, with a conversation about how important it would be to start focusing on some of those academic behaviors, those non-cognitive factors, those key learning strategies and skills, and that's what it looks like for us as elementary school-aged counselors. We start working and developing those skills with our students. And that I believe that we also talked about that it's developmentally appropriate to apply these strategies and some suggested curriculum to addressing college and career readiness with our upper elementary or with our elementary school age students. And so I think that that was our goal tonight, and I believe I hope I got those 3 in there. As we wrap things up, I just want to welcome any conversation or questions for about the last 10 minutes around college and career readiness. You also will see on the screen my email addresses, so if there's something that we don't discuss tonight that you have a question later, you're welcome to send me an email and I'll be happy to respond. So Nestor, I'm going to see if you want to come back on to see if we have any comments or questions from anyone in the audience.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you so much again. Yes, we do welcome questions. Through the presentation, there were no questions asked through the message box. So again, we encourage all attendees to please contact Mike directly, and just know that as follow-up, there will be a link to this webinar that was recorded for you, and it'll be provided to you, as well as a survey link, so we can get feedback on future webinars. So Mike and audience members, this is the Florida School Counselor Association webinar series. Mike, anything else? Any final comments?
No, I hope that I was able to successfully share some information around college and career readiness from an elementary school counselor's perspective, and I do welcome any questions at any point in time, or comments, or even suggestions. This is still a learning journey for me, so I'm happy to welcome any good ideas as well. So thank you all for participating tonight.
Thank you, Mike. Have a good night, everyone.